Hey there, Annette. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Anne?
I'm doing great. So good to see you again.
So good to see you too, as
Yeah,
always.
we always have fun. Anytime we get together, we have fun. So today we're going to be talking about an upcoming workshop that we're going to be doing together.
Yep.
We're going to give you sort of a sneak peek of what that's going to be all about. It's called Creating Magic with Your Crystal Grids. Ooh, I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
So Annette and I have been doing some workshops back and forth. She's been an active contributor to the Clarity Seekers community, for which I host. And when was it? We did that 13th, I guess, of
Yep.
September. We did an event called Creating Affirmations That Kick Serious Ass, right? So Annette gave us some really, really great information on how to really hone in on your affirmations to make them really, really effective. But we thought we would kind of turbocharge this by placing these affirmations into crystal grids.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been using them for a while, crystal
I
grids.
have. I
Yeah,
have.
so have I. Yeah. And so what's your experience been with the grids?
So my experience with the grid so far, has been one of synchronicity, first of all, which is really incredible because we talk about in the previous class that is
Yeah.
in the Clarity Seekers community. Um, we talk about how one of the steps of creating these affirmations is to let it go to the universe, right? Is to just sort
Yeah.
of let go of that need to have it right here, right now, let go of the timing. You always say that beautiful thing, in the right timing for me,
Hmm.
that is in my
Hmm.
highest good. So my experience has definitely been very aligned with that. So I'll do a crystal grid, and I do one every single month. And because, we always want to be actively manifesting. So I do one every single month, and you set it up at the new moon.
Hmm.
And basically you set your intentions and you let them go. So then you're pleasantly surprised when they show up. And then
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
like, "Oh wait, yeah, I did a crystal grid on that like 2 months ago, and now it's manifested." So it's about sort of building upon your current energy and building what you want to build for your life, as opposed to just sort of passively letting your life happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up a good point. I was thinking about that this morning. In that, as we move into October, October is the 10th month of the year. We add it together, 1 + 0 = 1. Add that to the universal year, which is a 6. This comes up to a 7, right? 1 + 6 = 7. So the 7 is always about, what do we want? Where do we want to go? How do we want to get there? Who do we want to be with? What do we want to manifest? November will be a very, very busy month for manifestation because that'll be an 8 universal month. But as we're getting ready to kind of consider what we want to manifest, it comes down to intention, right? So
Yeah.
I think this is really timely that we're going to be doing this. I think it's going to be very, very timely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and the intentions that you set, especially during times of, let's say, Mercury retrograde. And you and I have talked about this a few different times also today about, some of the challenges that we have during Mercury retrograde sometimes. And, to be able to move through challenging energies with relative ease
Yeah. Mhm.
is challenging sometimes. But when you're actively manifesting, when you're actively setting your intentions for your manifestation, it can make those periods of time that are really challenging go much more smoothly.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I think intention is huge right now because otherwise you're just going to get caught up in the sea of WTF. What was that? This Mercury
Yeah.
retrograde is kicking our asses.
Yeah.
And if you get too focused on the crap that's going on and all this stuff, and you fail to approach it with a sense of humor,
Right.
it can get a little rough.
Yeah.
So right now, I think the idea of having something in a physical form, the actual grid in a physical form, which Annette's going to teach us how to create on Tuesday, September 27th,
Mhm.
um, in the Clarity Seekers community. I think that's going to be really helpful to have something tangible that we can look at, that we can focus on, that we can look at every day and go, right, right, right. I'm supposed to be focusing on this, right?
Mm.
Rather than getting caught up in that sea of confusion, which is often the case.
Yeah, and it's almost like setting an automation. So,
Mhm.
if I'm going to use the example of, writing a whole bunch of emails and maybe having them, time stamped that they're going to send at like a particular time, right?
Yep.
It's like you've already written the emails, they're going to be sent at a particular time. They're already in the queue. You're not worried about it anymore. And
Right.
that's kind of what I like to equate it with when you're doing a crystal grid, because if you're just in that manifestation mode, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful space to be in. But it's
Yep.
like, oh, wait, do I need to manifest it more? Do I need to do it more? Do I need to say the affirmation again? Do I need to really feel it again? Do I need, like, so
And
you start getting into that like almost doubt that you did enough, or, that the manifestation is going to come to you. But when you infuse that energy into the crystal grid, you're basically allowing the crystals and the sacred geometry to amplify that manifestation, and you can just go about your day and live your life and do the things you need to do because the intention has already been set.
yeah, and that's a good point, because I think that when we're trying to manifest, sometimes it's kind of like the vision boards. I'm not a big fan of vision boards, because you sit there and you look at it and you say your affirmations over and over and over and over and over again. And sometimes the affirmation isn't overly believable,
Mm,
if you weigh 200 pounds and you're looking at, in the mirror saying, I weigh 120 pounds, the mirror's
mhm,
looking back at you going, I don't think so, sister. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like and that's just the reality of what it is.
right.
So sometimes when we're repeating that affirmation, we're losing faith. So I think we're
Mhm.
lowering the vibration. And I often laugh and think Spirit's up there going, what? You already told me once. Like, it's all I need. I just need the intention. Just said it. Let's do it, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So anyway, there is sort of a level of how much do you want to be invested in this. So um, the
Mhm.
crystals do hold memory. I used to teach this all the time in my Reiki classes. We used to call them crystal Reiki grids, where we would infuse the crystals with Reiki. We would clear them and infuse them with Reiki. And man, you could feel it. Like for about 3 days, the vibration was about this far off from the crystals. And then on the next day, it'd kind of drop a little bit, and the next day it would drop a little bit. And it's like, oh, we've got to charge it again. So you put the energy into it. But I've since learned over the years that you don't have to have Reiki. You don't have to have any kind of formal training whatsoever. It's your intention is enough
Yeah.
to really fuel these things, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
and the thing about crystals too is that, I mean, on their own, they have their own energy, obviously. So, I mean, you can feel the sort of resonance of where the crystals are going, let's
Yeah.
say, with their energy. So, when we're going to be teaching this class next Tuesday, it's going to be over the course of 4 different grids. And I'm going to kind of go over each grid and why you would use particular sacred geometry,
Mhm.
like what crystals you would use. And there aren't just like, okay, for an abundance grid, you have to use these exact crystals. It's not that. I basically say to people, use the crystals that you're drawn to.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you are using crystals that are, aligned with abundance or whatever it happens to be, that's fine. But if you come across a crystal that is not in the description, let's say it doesn't say that it's for abundance or for, manifesting money or jobs or whatever it happens to be, that's fine. But if
Mhm.
you're drawn to it, there's a reason why you're drawn to it.
Right.
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 Um, so so yeah, it's a personal journey you can take. So these 4 examples that we're going to be going over in the course are going to be your jumping off point. And so then from that point, then you can start actually creating your own grids and following your own intuition and picking out your own crystals and sacred geometry and all that. That's the fun part.
Yeah. 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 Cat steals going by.
He just jumped up on my lap like a second ago. He's, "Hi,
Look
YouTube."
at you, beauty. My mama was away. She's back now.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, when I was teaching crystal Reiki grids, one of the things that I had a lot of fun with was helping people to map out grids in their yards. Okay. So,
Oh,
if you happen to live in a house kind of thing and you've got a yard around you and you want to protect the energy in your home sort of thing, it's planting crystals strategically in corners
mm,
of your yard. But when I say crystals, there were lots of people who would just find rocks on the beach that meant something to them,
yep.
that just was like, that's kind of a cool looking stone, don't you think? And it says, pick me up. So you do. And you bury that in one of the corners.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we put that around. And then the other thing that I found very interesting, I had a student who used to travel all over the world, and she really, really was into crystals big time. So she created a crystal grid and took a photograph of the grid. Obviously, she wasn't going to travel around with her grid in her suitcase all over the place. So she took a picture of her grid in her home, and then she took the manifesting wand, which is just another crystal, right?
Yeah.
And she would tap out the picture with intention. She would tap out the picture, and that would send out the vibrations necessary to keep the grid activated.
Oh, that's really cool. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And it worked really, really well. The other one that you can do, of course, is take pictures of the corners of your property where you've buried the stones. Like put a little marker in. I've had a friend that came out and did my property because I wasn't digging holes. So she came out and she dug the holes. And it was great. So you take pictures of each place where you have buried them, and then you put those pictures on a board if you want. Like if you live in a climate like I do, where we've got winters and such, you don't want to be out there all the time.
Right.
So you can have that as a visual.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of really cool stuff you can do with it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
uh,
And you're giving me an idea. So like I actually, in all of the travels that I've done over the course of my lifetime, of course, people are like, oh, well, get souvenirs and get posters and get these
yeah,
and whatever. And, in the beginning of my travels, I used to do that. And then I'm like, you know what? Now I've ended up with a whole bunch of posters that, I'm not
you'll
going to
never put
frame
up.
because I don't have the wall space, whatever the case may be. So I decided to start getting like just picking up rocks
Yeah.
from all the places that I'd go to. And so I
Mhm.
have this huge bowl in my room that has, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 rocks from various different countries and places. And so it would be cool to be able to, take the places or the rocks from the places that you really resonate with and infuse that energy with your space. So like, for example, one of the places that I went to that was just magical and spiritual in so many ways is Isle of Skye in
Oh, wow.
Scotland.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple of rocks from a place called Fairy Glen there in Scotland. And so it's like I would love to infuse that energy into my space,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and of course I have it in a bowl with the rest of my rocks, but to actually work with it,
Yeah.
that's a fantastic idea. But it
Yeah.
also, like you can see, I have my little flower of life on my wall there. So
Little tiny crystals there. Velcro crystals.
I should do that.
Yeah. If anybody's got any questions for Annette or myself with regards to crystals and grids and how we use them, by all means, feel free to ask. We're here for a
Yeah,
few minutes, so
absolutely.
you're more than welcome to ask any questions you might have. Hey, Nadia, good to see you here. Grand Rising in, finally able to get to see you live. Yay, that's excellent. So happy you're here. But yeah, I have an aversion to setting my grid up on things that are plastic or metal
Of
or
course.
anything like that. That just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
So I actually went to a landscape company and kind of dug through their stuff. And he said, when I told him what it was for, he said, you take whatever you want. He was really spiritual, this guy. I'll never forget it. And he used to make the coolest furniture out of slabs of rock. And so I got this nice piece of slate, like really just natural slate. And that's what I put
Oh,
mine on.
beautiful.
It just feels I just like that natural feel. But I've also used ceramic tile,
Mhm.
not so much a porcelain because that's more of a man-made product, but I've used like a ceramic tile that might have a glaze over it. But when you crack it open, it's clay on the inside. Like
Yeah.
red clay on the inside. So that's how
Yeah.
you tell the difference. I used to be in the flooring business.
Nice.
Break the tile, you can find out whether it's ceramic or whether it's porcelain.
Right.
But that I would use that. But the other thing too is to find maybe even a wooden container and
Mhm.
fill it with sand from a special place, right? If you go to, hey, Linda, if you go to some place like California, where Linda's at. Bring home a bit of sand. You can put your crystals in the sand, and that way, if you're moving it around, they don't shift, right?
Yeah.
You can sit there
Yeah.
and you can put them in a drawer, because I don't like people touching my grids.
Right.
And kids are always attracted to it and want to pick up the stones, and it's like,
Don't touch it. Yeah.
step away from the stones. But that's what you can do. Put it in sand, in something wooden or some kind of terracotta pot or whatever, and then place that in a drawer so that you can close it off.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the crystal grid that I have going on right now in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
I have it in sand, and I had the sand actually, which is no longer in this jar. It's in my little Mickey Mouse jar. But this
Yes.
was sand from, I think it was Siesta Key in Florida. It's that really fine powdery sand.
Nice.
I also have sand from Costa Rica, and I picked up this sand not really thinking that I'd be using it for crystal grids, but yeah, it works beautifully. And I use a copper platter.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I actually, a friend of mine picked it up for me. She saw it in an Indian store. So
Mhm.
there's here in Paris, there's a place called Passage Brady, where you can get, all your Indian spices and things like that. Well, they had a whole back section that had copper plates and platters and things like that. And copper is an amplifier. It's a conductor.
Right.
So copper is a really good material to use as well. So I just put the sand in the bottom of the copper platter, and then that's where my crystal grid is housed at the moment. The other thing I got one of these from an Etsy seller, which really lovely, and I keep on forgetting to write a review, but basically it's like
Beautiful.
a vinyl metallic looking crystal, or sorry,
Mhm.
a piece of sacred geometry
Yeah.
that you can put on anything. So I haven't decided what I'm going to put this on yet.
Is it like
But
a sticker?
yeah, it's a sticker. It's a vinyl
Okay.
sticker.
Oh,
So basically, then if I put this on a piece of wood or a piece of stone or whatever I happen to decide to put that on, that will be my permanent Metatron's cube Merkaba
yeah.
crystal grid. So
Awesome.
the other one that I have is a Flower of Life crystal grid that has that it's actually carved out of wood. So you'll
Yeah.
be able to find those kinds of things in pretty much any metaphysical shop, any crystal shop. They usually carry at least the Flower of Life. Sometimes they'll carry Metatron's cube, but I find that the Flower of Life is probably the most popular. You'd be able to find that pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that Annette's already created a handout that's going to go with this workshop that we'll be hosting on excuse me, the 27th. She's created, there's 4 of them, I think, maybe 6.
4, yeah.
4. Yeah, there's 4 different grid patterns that you'll be able to print off. So they come up in as a PDF form in the school. Okay, so the school is the Clarity Seekers community, which you can check out right there. It's on my website. If you go to my website, just click right at the very top. It says Clarity Seekers Community. You can check it out. But already in there, Annette's already done a workshop where we talked about how to create the affirmations. And in there, she's created a really cool shopping list. Okay, now this doesn't mean to say that you have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. It just gives you an idea of what you might want to bring with you to the workshop next week. Okay. Yeah. So we'll be talking about various stones, and what stones are good for what things, like, the blue stones, what are they for? What are the purple stones for? What are the red stones for? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we'll be talking a lot about that and how they work.
Right.
Hey, Allison May, good to see you. Allison's actually been a guest speaker in our group as well. She is a coach on light language, and man,
yeah,
you want to check that out. It's pretty amazing stuff. Linda Cataldo was kind enough to introduce us, and we've been doing some stuff together as well. So there's I guess we got to be pushing 50 various masterclasses that are already in the Clarity Seekers community. So when you join for $22, you get access to all of them, and you can cancel whenever you want. But we have 4 live numerology classes every month. We have 1 to 2, sometimes more live events, like Annette's going to be sharing with us next week. There's always something good going on, right? So it's fun. It's a really cool community where we can actually chat to one another, send each other messages. It's like we have a little it looks like a Facebook group, but it's not Facebook because Facebook's so yesterday. So we have our own chat room and stuff right in the community. So it's a heck of a lot of fun. Everybody's getting to know each other from all around the world. So yeah, it's there it is there. So it's now open. It's for $22 a month. You get a free course just for signing up. That's worth $47. If you join for a year, it's $222 for the year, but you get a $197 course, which is Denise Lynn's 28-day soul coaching program. That's included. We also have the Uncover Your Life Purpose program. That's $47. That's included. And we also have, I think it's 8 meditations. That's worth $147 in there as well. So, I mean, you're getting in value more than what you're paying for the whole year. Plus, you get all the live events. So, I hope that you guys will consider checking that out because we'd sure love to have you join us. All right. So, we have some questions here. So, Nadia, I have seen it on selenite. Will that work? In terms of, I'm thinking she's asking in terms of placing the crystals on the selenite as a grid itself.
So I have also seen that. I personally have not used selenite as a substrate for a crystal grid, and I would have to check in with my guides, but I don't know that that's necessarily the right crystal to use because selenite clears crystals.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. Yeah.
So it's like when I want to clear a crystal, you can either put crystals on selenite or you can obviously, put them in moonlight. You can just imagine that divine source energy coming through the crown of your head and out your heart and just allowing that energy to clear the crystal yourself. So I'd have to check in. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would say hold off on the selenite until you're certain that it's not going to clear your intentions.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I think it would clear the programming. The whole point of this is to program the crystal to do the work.
Right.
And you put it on, and if you want to change that program, you would put your crystal on selenite to clear it. That's my feeling on it anyways.
I think the only exception would be if the purpose of the grid is to absorb negative energies or to clear your space, then it would be a good crystal to have potentially, because then you could use things like obsidian or black tourmaline to sort of use that as a negative energy absorber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
If your intention is to do something like that, then maybe that would be a good substrate to use. But to amplify any sort of manifestation, I would go with, clear quartz, amethyst. Those are the types of crystals that you want to use to amplify.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that selenite is necessarily going to amplify your intentions.
It is. I love the feel of selenite. There's just something about it. It's just really, it's cool.
Yeah.
Jen T's got a great idea. She says, hello, I use tree slices and trace sacred geometry and set my crystals up the way I want to manifest or meditate with it. I'm always chasing my kids away from my crystals. I hear you, sister. I'm loving this conversation. Awesome. I love that idea, Jen, because we are building a cottage right now. And so my husband is out there taking down a bunch of trees, which sounds really horrible. And trust me, every one that comes down, I cry. I do. I'm really sensitive towards the trees, but they're always half dead, right? So they've done their service and it's time for them to provide another service. So we've taken down ceremoniously, and but he's got a lot of really cool pieces out there that I think that'd be great. I think it'd be amazing. I love that idea because I really do like that natural, interesting. And you know what else I was thinking? Because the sometimes those slabs of wood can get a little sticky, with the sap and stuff. We could actually cut out a piece of cork and sit it up to the cork, right?
Yeah.
So that the cork doesn't, it won't move as much either,
right.
But it'll help to keep that stuff from staining any furniture and stuff that you might have. So that might be good.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rose Ford, good to see you. Allison, we should be combining forces for sure. That'd be quite a powerful conversation. Put all of us under one roof at the same time. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Too cool. Love it. Yeah. So, but for those of you who are tuning in a little bit later, we're going to be doing a live event in the Clarity Seekers community on Tuesday, September 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. You have to be a member of the community to be able to attend live. It won't be like this. It's not going to be a type the chat. It's going to be a live Zoom conversation. So you'll be able to talk to Annette face to face. You'll be able to talk to me, ask the questions that you want. That's the way all of our events rock and roll. You'll get a recording of it after the fact. You get the audio recording. You get a PDF handout. And there's close to 50 more master classes already in there. And right now it's on for $22 a month. So it's the course that I'm teaching, the numerology course I'm teaching in there is valued at $297. But I'm showing up 4 times a month live to teach you guys numerology. So it's quite an experience. And the groups are kept quite small. So it's a very intimate arrangement. Rose is in our group. She's been doing great, attending all the time like a good doobie that she is. So learning lots, I hope. But yeah, so we'd love to have you join us. Does anybody else have any?
You have such incredible content in there. Seriously, like it's just there's so much, and you could spend hours upon hours upon hours. It's fantastic.
Well, yeah. It's kind of that, without it's kind of like being on YouTube in some respects, but you're getting the handouts, you're getting the audios, you're getting the one-on-one live interaction. It's a pretty neat experience. It's been a dream come true for me, actually. I've wanted to do this for quite a while, so it's been a labor of love getting here, but it's awesome. Nadia is asking, is that separate from Master 11? So it used to be called the Master Number 11 membership, right? And last year, Spirit called me to say, no, that's too small. You're keeping it too small. You need to open it up to a wider audience so we can speak to more people, kind of thing. So I opened it up and called it the Clarity Seekers Community, and I moved it away from where it used to be on a place called Member Space because we couldn't have the live chats and whatnot. So I moved it over to the school called Thinkific. And so in there, when you sign into your account, you get access to all of the master classes. Like I said, there's close to 50 of them in there now. All of the recorded numerology classes, plus access to all the live classes. The Zoom links are in there. All you have to do is click them and join it. All the PDF documents. There's an audio recording for everyone. Like it's really expanded from what it was. So yeah. So am I on this class? I don't think so, Nadia. I think you got to join it. I haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, I think you might be confusing the Master Number 11 community on Facebook, right? So there's a Facebook group for Master Number 11s. My thing is I want to continue to serve the Master 11s. I'm committed to that. But I've also realized that there's an awful lot of empathic people out there, sensitively empathic people who need a little bit more support. So that's why we've opened up the community. So a lot of stuff that's in there already is geared towards the Master 11s, but all that stuff appeals to anybody who's energetically sensitive and empathic. So I really would encourage you to check it out. And I'll show you. There it is there. Oops, that's not the one I want. I want this one. There you go. That's how you get in. Janina, hey, nice to see you. Yeah, so if you're paying monthly, Nadia, you're already in it. So that's awesome. So you're already in it. So we've already moved you over. You just have to go in and set up your password. If you have any trouble, email me. Just send me an email, Anne@AnnePerryNumerologist.com, and I'll help you get into it. So you might not have shifted from the old membership into the new one. So I can't wait for you to see the new one because it's so cool. It's really exciting. Yeah.
And don't feel like you have to go out and get all the crystals before next Tuesday's class either. You can simply, join us for the class if you're in the Clarity Seekers community. Join us for the class on Tuesday and see what it's all about. And then if you decide that you want to make your own crystal grid, then you can always replay the video within the community and then go over some of the things that you want to buy and then go to a crystal shop after the fact and go buy them. So don't feel like you have to rush in purchasing all the materials and everything for the crystal grids before next Tuesday. If you want to, please feel free. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. There's the simple grid, which is basically, I believe it's just 6 crystals. No, 7, I think. Hold on, let me look.
6 on the perimeter, 1 in the center.
Yeah, I think so. And so then this one will be, a singular intention, essentially. So, um, you don't have to go out and buy a whole crap ton of crystals like I do because,
You have an
I
addiction.
love them all. They're so pretty.
Yeah,
They're
I
so
know.
pretty. It's funny because I actually, so I was telling Anne earlier, I was in Germany for the weekend for a friend's wedding, and I always seem to find the really awesome little hole in the wall metaphysical shops, and I was in this tiny little town called Montabaur, which is small village in Germany, and of course they have this metaphysical shop, and so I walk in and the woman is asking me in German, which I don't speak I speak like 10 words of German. And so she's asking me what I'm looking for. And I was just like, oh, I'm just looking. And so her shop is tiny, but she's got crystals crammed in every little nook and cranny everywhere. So I'm like looking at everything and I think she's getting a little weirded out because I'm so intently looking at everything. And so she finally comes up and says it to me in English. She's like, is there something that I can help you with? Like, what are you looking for? Why are you here? And I was like, I read past lives for a living and I just use crystals and pendulums and all kinds of things. And I'm looking for new stuff. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. I'm looking for that one to scream, "Take me home."
Oh, I ended
Yeah.
up getting 2 pendulums because they were they were beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it is a little bit of an addiction, but we
Don't
love
worry.
our crystals. They're so pretty.
So, if you don't know already, if you haven't been part of the group, then you probably don't know too much about what Annette does. But she's from infinitesoullove.com, and she is an Akashic record reader. Totally amazing. I've had a few sessions with her. I've got another one coming up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to go on another tour. But yeah, I can't. I honestly, I've had such positive experiences. I've had several Akashic Records readings, but I've never had any that were quite as profound as the ones that I've experienced with Annette. So you can check her out at infinitesoullove.com. And what else have you got coming up? Anything amazing?
Let's see. So the podcast season 4 is starting next week.
Yeah.
And the first episode for the podcast next week is actually talking about codependency versus unconditional love.
Oh,
and
cool.
How to know, if you're having some codependent tendencies, things like that.
Yeah.
I got an idea for one of the episodes, which I'm really excited about. So, for Halloween, I decided to do something pretty fun. So I'm going to start talking about sort of the history of the witch trials here in Europe and and abroad, and then kind of match that with what I've seen in the Akashic records through the course of my sessions, because obviously I do a lot of sessions for light workers.
Yes.
And so we touch on their past lives and what happened during that time. So I'm going to sort of pull together all of the information of what was actually going on, like what was happening with each sort of group of people, and it'll be sort of a broad overview of not only the Akashic record view, but then the historical view of what was happening during that time.
How cool is that? And they can access the podcast on your website, right?
They can access, yes, absolutely. So it's infinitesoullove.com /podcast.
Perfect.
So that's the direct link. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, that's how we met in the first place.
It is.
So,
It
yeah.
is. Yeah. So if you want to listen to the episode with Anne, which is such a fun episode, all you have to do is just scroll. It has all of the episodes, from season 1 all the way up till next week will be season 4 starting.
Awesome. That's going to be so good. And Annette is also going to be, I haven't told anybody about this event yet.
Oh, right.
So December 11th, we are doing a live event, which Annette's going to be a guest in. I've done it the last 2 years. It's 6 psychics all under one roof at one time. Okay, so you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. It's going to be really, really cool. We've got Laura Warren coming in. We've got Tara Whitford. We've got Annette. We've got myself. I mean, there's just, it's going to be an amazing discussion. So if anybody is interested in joining us for that, stay tuned because I'll be putting the details out for that in October. So you do not want to miss it. There'll be a limited number of seats available for that. So you'll be able to, we'll be talking about what our thoughts are, what the heck was 2022 all about, what's coming up in 2023, and you will have access to each one of us. So you'll be able to ask questions, and sometimes we'll pull cards, if we want to use the cards to support the messages. But it's a really, really fun evening. It's usually about 2 hours long, where you are going to be in the company of some of the best psychics out there. So I hope you'll consider joining us for that.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Make sure you're grounding all of your devices. That's going to be a lot of energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I'm quite sure we're not doing this over a retrograde. So
right. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you learned a little bit and had some fun with us. It was fun spending some time with you. Jen saying I had an Akashic reading and I had a crystal reading. In both these readings, the readers tapped into the same past life. That was really insightful. Both involved lifetimes using crystals. Wow. Geez, Jen, I hope you'll join us next week. That'd be awesome to have you in the class. I'd love to hear your story.
Absolutely.
It'd be amazing. All right. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Annette, check her out at infinitesoullove.com. Myself, I am AnnPerryNumerologist.com. If you're interested in checking out the community, you're welcome to do so. You can check it out on my website. It's the top link up at the very top. It says Anne Perry Numerologist, and that's Clarity Seekers Community. So I'd love for you to check us out and join us. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Hoping we'll see you all on the 27th, Tuesday, the 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks,
we're going to have a blast. Thanks, Anne, so much.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye for now.